Hey guys, it's Bramble, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to go over some of the most easily missed details in the May Day Maze for Animal Crossing New Horizons in 2026. Even though the maze itself is fairly short, there's actually quite a few things that players overlook on their first run, whether that's extra rewards, hidden mechanics, or just small details that aren't explained very clearly. So if you've already completed the maze, or even if you're just about to, here are some things you might have completely missed. One of the biggest things players miss in the May Day Maze is that you can actually collect more than just the main reward at the end. Most people focus on reaching Rover as quickly as possible, but there are also Bell Vouchers hidden throughout the island. In total, there are 9 Bell Vouchers scattered throughout the maze, and each one is worth 3,000 bells, meaning you can earn up to 27,000 bells from a single run if you collect them all. That's a lot of money. What makes these easy to miss is that some of them are not on the main path. After reaching Rover, there are actually additional areas that open up behind him, where several Bell Vouchers are hidden behind shrubs and rocks. If you didn't realize before, you can actually keep exploring after you've reached the end. It's very easy to leave without collecting all of them. Another thing a lot of players don't realize is how important resource management is in the maze, especially when it comes to fruit. Fruit is what gives you the strength to break rocks and dig up trees, but you're only given a limited amount. The maze is designed so that you have exactly enough fruit to complete it and collect everything, but only if you use it correctly. If you waste fruit early on, for example digging up trees instead of chopping them later on with an axe, you can end up not having enough to reach certain areas, particularly the sections where the Bell Vouchers are hidden. That leads us into another completely missed detail, which is that you're actually expected to craft tools as part of the solution. At certain points in the maze, you'll find DIY recipes and materials that allow you to craft tools like axes. These aren't optional, these are actually part of the intended route. So if you ignore them or don't realize their importance, you'll end up using the fruit unnecessarily, which can stop you from completing the maze properly. Something else that often confuses players is what happens to the items you collect on the island. You might notice that once you leave the maze, your inventory is completely empty. Even if you picked up materials, fruit, or other items along the way, that's because you actually don't keep anything from the island except from the rewards. The Bell Vouchers and Rover's briefcase are automatically sent to your mailbox after you leave, rather than staying in your inventory. So if you went home wondering where your Bell Vouchers ended up, don't worry, they're not lost, they're coming in the mail the very next day. A lot of people also don't realize that you can actually reset the maze if you make a mistake. This means that if you get stuck or use resources incorrectly, you can actually use the rescue service on your Nook phone to restart the entire maze from the beginning. This means you can retry as many times as you want while you're still on the island, which is especially helpful if you're trying to collect all 9 Bell Vouchers in one run. Another easily missed detail is that the May Day Maze actually changes depending on the year. There are 2 versions of the maze, one for odd numbered years and one for even numbered years. So if you played the event before but something feels slightly different this time, that's probably because the layout alternates every year. Then there's Rover himself, who a lot of newer players might not recognize. Rover is a returning character from older Animal Crossing games, where he would meet you right at the beginning of your journey and help you set up your character and your town. In New Horizons, this is actually his only appearance in the entire game, which makes the May Day event a small but meaningful callback for many long-time players. If you've completed the May Day tour in previous years, Rover's dialogue changes slightly when you meet him again. It's a small detail, but he acknowledges that you've done the maze before, which ties into the fact that your reward also changes from the briefcase to his foe. It's a subtle bit of continuity that a lot of players don't notice unless they've played the event multiple times. Another interesting detail is that the May Day Maze is not randomly generated. Every player gets the exact same layout for that year, meaning there's a single intended solution. This is very different from Mystery Islands, which are usually random, and because of that, the maze is more like a fixed puzzle rather than an exploration island, and it's designed to be solved in a specific way. If you're struggling to complete the maze, remember to check out my video where I show you how to do it step by step. One detail that's easy to miss is that even if you pick up materials, tools, or fruit during the maze, none of it actually comes back with you. When you leave the island, your inventory is completely reset, and everything you've collected during the run disappears. The only thing that you keep are the official rewards like Bell Vouchers and Rover's item, which are handled separately and sent to your mailbox the next day. So even if you try to save items for later, the game doesn't actually allow it. But if you would like to collect all of the Bell Vouchers and complete the maze 100%, check out my video where I showed you how to do it step by step. One small detail that's really easy to overlook is the fact that Tom Nook actually calls you on your Nook phone to introduce the May Day tour. That might not seem like a big deal at first, but it's actually quite unusual. After the early stages in the game, when you finish setting up your island, Tom Nook almost never calls you directly again. Most events are introduced through Isabel's announcements or by visiting characters, so having him personally call you feels a bit like a throwback to the beginning of the game. It makes the event stand out in a subtle way that many players don't really notice. Another detail that's easy to miss is just how different the May Day Maze is compared to the rest of New Horizons. The game is usually very open-ended and relaxed, where you can take things at your own pace and there's no real way to fail. But the May Day tour is one of the only times the game gives you something that feels like a proper puzzle level with a fixed solution and the possibility of making mistakes. It's a completely different style of gameplay that doesn't really appear anywhere else in New Horizons, which is part of why it feels so memorable. Another small but interesting detail is that this specific island only exists for the duration of the event. Even though it looks like a mystery island, it's not part of the normal island pool, and you'll never randomly come across anything like it again. Once the event ends, it disappears completely, which makes it one of the more temporary experiences in the game. Another thing that sets the Mayday turn apart is that it doesn't have any kind of daily progression. A lot of seasonal events in Animal Crossing encourage you to come back each day to unlock new items or interactions, but this one is completely self-contained. You do it once, complete the maze, and that's it. There's no reason to return the next day, aside from receiving your rewards in the mail. It's a very different structure compared to something like Bunny Day or Wedding Season. And finally, one of the most important things people miss is that you only get one Mayday ticket per year. Once you leave the island, you can't go back and try again until next year's event. That means if you miss Bell Vouchers or make a mistake and don't reset using the Reset Services app, there's no second chance during that same event period. So, in other words, you're screwed. And yeah, those are some of the most common things people miss in the Mayday Maze. It's a really simple event on the surface, but there's actually a lot more going on than it seems at first, especially if you're trying to complete it perfectly. Let me know in the comments if you managed to get all 9 Bell Vouchers or if you missed anything on your first run. And if you want more Animal Crossing guides and event breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!